This is the Norris Group's Real Estate Investor Radio Show, the award-winning show dedicated to thought leaders shaping the real estate industry and local experts revealing their insider tips to succeed in an ever-changing real estate market. Hosted by author, investor, and hard money lender, Bruce Norris.
The Norris Group proudly presents our 15th annual award-winning event, I Survived Real Estate. Industry experts join Bruce Norris to discuss evolving industry trends, real estate bubbles, inflation, and opportunities emerging for real estate professionals. All proceeds from the event benefit Make-A-Wish and St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. See isurvivedrealestate.com for event details, information on all our generous sponsors, and to connect with our speakers. We want to thank our platinum partners: San Diego Creative Investors Association, U-Direct IRA Services, White Feather Investments, The Collective Genius, MVT Productions, and Realty 411.
Hi, welcome back to the Norris Group Real Estate Radio Show and Podcast. This week we have part 2 of our interview with Rony Award winner, Dyches Boddiford. Hope you enjoy.
Significant mentor that influenced your life, not from the real estate world. Jack Fullerton and I figured out that we were in the same Jim Rohn seminar in 1981, oddly enough. So did you have...
I tell you, Jim Rohn was a force in my growing and as an investor and as a person.
Yeah.
A lot of his teachings and all made me reflect on my situation and what I wanted out of life, and I gained a lot from him. But before Jim Rohn was Zig Ziglar.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And Zig did the same thing. He made me think about what I was doing and what I was wanting, and made me take time to evaluate what I was doing.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Zig Ziglar. Matter of fact, I met him. I didn't meet him. I talked to him on the phone one time, and I just loved his energy. He was a great guy. I just called him out of the blue out of Texas, and he took the phone call and we talked. It was great.
Good.
Yeah. I'm just curious about this. There's sometimes when I talk to investors and also just successful people, did you notice any spark of entrepreneurship when you were a kid that you had? I'm just curious if you did anything that was...
Well, I grew up on a farm, and anybody that's grown up on a farm knows you wear a lot of hats. It's not just the farming itself, but you learn how to fix things, you learn how to weld and do electrical work, plumbing work, so forth. So I had a kind of an introduction to real property when I was growing up. Mm-hmm. So I didn't think of it like that. I kept thinking I was going to get into some kind of business where I'd have 100 employees. Of course, I didn't realize what employees were at the time. And I thought I was going to go in that direction. That's why I went to college and got degrees, and I was going to get out and work in that corporate world. As far as entrepreneurship, yes, I had a lot of interest, but didn't really act on it when I was in high school, looking at different things that could be done. So I had somewhat of an entrepreneurial bent.
Now, how about Dorsey? I'm just curious.
Dorsey had a childhood and grew up enjoying her friends and her classes at school, high school, and all. And she enjoyed Georgia Tech. She went there as well, and she enjoyed the learning, but she also enjoyed the social life, not to the point of partying hardy or whatever, but just enjoyed getting around people and having fun, talking to them about what they were going to do when they got out. Mm-hmm. And how they grew up and so forth. So she's much more of a people person than I was. But entrepreneurship, that occurred when she was trying to decide what to do when she got out of school. And she came to me and said, Dad, I don't want to be in the office 8 hours or 10 hours a day. I want to be able to get out and about. I want to have something that's my own, not something I'm depending on somebody else to give me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to try to do the real estate like you've been doing. I noticed over the years that you came to all my games and plays and so forth. And I'd like to be able to do that for my children. So I said, okay, we'll take 6 months and see how you do. And she jumped into it, and she spent nights and weekends as well as the weekdays finding houses, flipping them, getting tenants in the rental houses. She got herself in a real good situation. So now she's kind of taken off the last couple of years because she's had 2 little girls, and she's taking care of them, but she's still got her rental properties.
Good for her. That's very cool. When
And
did
I
you?
think when the kids get a little bit older, she'll get back out and do some more when she has more time.
Yeah. Well, but it served its purpose. It's late work for her to have a be-at-home mom. That's very cool.
Right.
When did you first start teaching? What year was that?
It was about a year late after I went full time, so somewhere in '91 is when I started.
Okay.
And it was really kind of by accident. I was president of the local real estate club, and I kept having people call me at nights and weekends when I was at home, asking me, "How do you do this? How to, what about this strategy, that strategy?" And so I said, I told another person that was on the board with me, I said, "You want to teach a one-day class on Saturday to answer some of these questions?" So we did that, and we made that grew into a 2-day class. And then I had one of the national promoters ask me about coming and doing helping teach a boot camp. And I did that. And then I kind of got away from the promoters because they're trying to always sell something.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
That's when I started talking to Pete Fortunato and Jack Miller, and I had already been going to their classes, and I started talking to them about teaching, and they gave me encouragement and put me out there, wound me up and put me out there and see what I would do. Fortunately, I was able to do pretty well.
Yeah, I think an audience appreciates somebody teaching a class without an agenda of please run to the back of the room. I hate that.
Exactly.
I don't like sitting in the audience for that, and I don't like standing in front of an audience when there's an agenda. I hate it.
It's also unfortunate that there are a lot of beginners out there that feel like they've got to buy everything they can find on the subject before they can get out and do something. And at some point, you just got to jump in and do the work, not worry about do you have everything exactly right.
No, it's interesting. What percentage of what you have bought in your life do you think included you being directly across a human being?
I'd say maybe 70%.
Okay.
Sometimes you buy a package of material or whatever and find out it really wasn't what you were thinking it was, and you didn't follow through with it. But it might have been just perfect right on target for somebody else. Everybody's different, and everybody picks different things that they are interested in, targets that they want to go for.
I think what I meant was the properties that you bought, did you most of the time meet the owners?
Okay, the properties. Okay.
Yes.
I know I didn't most of the time meet the owners. I did in the beginning for sure.
Okay.
But then I started buying some where I was dealing just with their representatives, but that was because they were getting to be bigger properties.
Okay.
And that makes a difference because who has the final say so? Well, that's who you really need to be in front of. And sometimes that's not even the owner. That's his mother or his cousin who knows more about real estate than he does. So you got to find out who that trigger person is. One that can pull the trigger.
Bruce, can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Hey, Dykes, investors throughout their career, especially ones that have been successful and had long careers, always have a story of overcoming some pretty major adversity. I know Bruce has had, some, investors that we've spoken to in our network have gone through those. Can you talk about maybe one instance in your career where you felt like you might have had to hang it up, and what did you do to overcome that, and how did you get through that?
Yeah, that's a good question.
It is.
Yeah, right after I got married, I got the itch to do bigger deals, and I really wasn't prepared to do bigger deals technically, but I was going to try. So I bought a apartment complex and got financing. And I had good credit scores, and even though I'd never done apartments, I'd at least done rental property, and so the bank loaned the money to me to do it. And that was a bad investment for me because I was not prepared to be an apartment owner. I was still working full time. I was trying to do it on nights and weekends. And I thought I had hired a manager that would help me, but they just made the problem worse. And it was a lower end, low economic end apartments. And it took me a year and a half to work out of that problem. And I literally lost, I'm talking about hard dollars and not paper loss, hard dollars. I lost $110,000 when my net worth was barely beyond that.
Wow.
So I lost a lot of sleep at night thinking about how I was going to solve the problem, and kept trying different things. And the only thing that kept me going is I had experience with real estate, and it had done very well for me in the previous 6 or 7 years. So I knew that I was just doing something wrong, and I couldn't find anybody that could really help me to solve the problem, when it was more a people problem than anything else. And but I kept going with it because I knew that real estate was good. It's just a matter of working out of the problem. I could have easily given up, thrown my hands, and filed bankruptcy or whatever, but made it work, and it made me appreciate the details a lot more.
You know, what's interesting about how you face that is that had in a big part made you who you are.
We're saying everybody is going to have some adversity in their investment career, and don't think you won't have it in the stock market. If you're in the stock market, you're going to have it there as well. Any kind of investment you do, you're going to have some challenge that is going to almost make you quit, and you just got to have the grit to keep going.
Yeah, I want to like who I look at in the mirror, to be honest with you. I really do.
I've heard Bruce talk about it, and I think, that's when your why has to be the strongest, and that's something that Jim Rohn, implanted, in a lot of these investors, is like, if your why is strong enough, there's really anything, because you're working for that why, you're overcoming for that why, everything you're doing is for that why.
Right.
Yeah, have a big
And
reason.
you got to determine what that is early on. And another thing that people don't realize a lot of times is your why changes as you grow. You grow psychologically, and you grow in your business career. You got to constantly be reevaluating why you're doing it.
I agree with that. Yep. Probably narrowing down to last set of questions. What do you think about the current change of interest rates and what that probably will do to real estate prices? I'm just curious.
Well, you got two opposing factors. You got the interest rates going up, which typically in most markets will push house prices down. You got the supply chain limitation and labor limitations on building new properties, new single family and multifamily housing. And so you're not going to have as much product on the market as you had. So you got to kind of determine which is going to be the strongest force, whether it's going to be abundance of property, which we don't see in the near future, or is it going to be a scarcity of properties because it's just the building permits aren't being taken and the buildings are not out there building? Or are we going to have a monetary crunch that keeps the interest rates high? Or will we go back to like we were a year and a half ago, where we had low interest rates and plenty of money out there? And so it's just, if I was a good prognosticator, I'd be a billionaire. And,
Well, you've brought up two things that are very valid. Another thing that I think is also in place is that over the last 2 years, saying it from the beginning of 2022, go back 2 years, everybody in the world has had a chance to refinance their house at something that starts with a 2 or a 3. So most of the inventory in every market that's for sale is existing inventory. 15% or so new houses, but 85% of it is existing inventory. I think a lot of people are just going to say, I'm good. I'm going to stay right where I'm at.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. But you point out another thing too, that those refinancings at 2 and 3% are properties that you should be watching for the person to move or some other reason to sell the property and look for some owner financings.
Yeah, no, you're right. Well, that's another thing. The interest rates are so low that, let's say, even if prices went into negative equity territory, they'd cash flow as rentals.
Yeah.
So the person wouldn't have
to. It's a great time to have rentals.
Pardon me?
It's a great time to have rentals.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Really is. But that's also pretty supportive of the price at a higher interest rate too. So if somebody was saying, okay, like in Florida, we had houses that were $250 go to $400, but we had rents go from $1,300 to $2,400.
Right.
And so all of a sudden your $2,400 rent payment compared to a payment of $400,000 at 20% down at 7%, it's not inconceivable that somebody would say, well, I'd rather own and have equity going up than just write a check for rent. So interesting take.
That's right. And we got a lot of people working remotely now, and companies being forced to offer jobs remotely because so many people are looking for that. And with a remote job, they can be out in the middle of the desert if they wanted to work, as long as they got internet connection and phone connection and so forth. So a lot of things are changing. A lot of needs and desires are changing. So we just have to see what happens in the next few years. I wish I could tell you what. I can tell you this. Historically, you can't go wrong buying property for rental. In the long game, it's worked out so far for the last 100 years or so, at least, that we look back at. So I would not buy anything now because of high prices. It's just a question of, can you make the numbers work for your situation? If you can, then I think you should consider it, and not to the point of having to live on beans and rice all the time, but
right.
Yeah, to the point that you can hold on to property and it's going to probably go up.
You know, what's interesting, for the last few years, we have, that Nixon Library event where we have some people there that are influential in the industry to the extent where you might be able to get some unusual policy passed. One of the best things they could do for the industry right now is have the existing loan base allowed to move forward either to a property that the same person is going to buy. Can I please move my mortgage over there? Or to actually have that loan fully assumable where it's at. That would be a very big help to the real estate agents of the country.
Yes, that would, exactly. I haven't looked into that area a lot, but you're right. The fellows, the economists and all that speak at the dinner actually have a lot of control within the organizations they come from.
Well, we were invited to have a one-on-one lunch with the CEO of Fannie Mae last summer. And that was one of the topics that came up. So while we were sitting there, I said, when interest rates crank up, man, you guys got to figure out how to make these existing loans stay on the property and be taken over by somebody else. I mean, to me, that would just be life-saving for the industry. Because what's going to happen now is you're going to have 50% of your sales. That's probably going to occur. But that means a lot of people don't have jobs anymore that are real estate agents or lenders. So just one of those. It seems like a decision that would be very easy for somebody in power to make. And yet I found that doesn't usually happen.
That's true. Bureaucracy doesn't move very fast at all.
No, it really does not. So, well, Dykes, thanks so much for taking time out of your day to talk with us. I really appreciate it.
I had to do it.
Thanks for all you've done for the industry. And it was an honor to give you the Roney Award. Really was.
Thank you very much, Bruce. I appreciate it and feel very honored to have gotten it.
Joey, did you have something?
No, I just wanted to say I'm Mexican. Beans and rice sounds great to me.
Well, then you're all set. You're all set for your first negative real estate experience. I'll give you an over encumbered property to make that happen.
We'd also like to thank our gold sponsors: Chase Leland Photography, Inland Valley Association of Realtors, Keystone CPA Inc., LA South RIA, Lavis Tax Wealth Management, NorCal RIA, NSD REI, Pasadena Phoebe, Tony Alvarez, White House Catering, Wilson Investments, Windermere Tower Realty. See iSurvivedRealEstate.com for event details, information on all our generous supporters, and to connect with our speakers.
For more information on hard money loans and upcoming events with the Norris Group, check out thenorrisgroup.com. For information on passive investing with trust deeds, visit tngtrustdeeds.com.
The Norris Group originates and services loans in California and Florida under California DRE License 012-19911, Florida Mortgage Lender License 1577, and NMLS License 1623669. For more information on hard money lending, go to thenorrisgroup.com and click the Hard Money tab.